Yeah, so it is 2 o'clock, and I am um, adamant to always start on time.
Mm.
So, first of all, I want to say welcome to everybody that has joined us this afternoon. My name is Dion van Aert. I am the marketing manager here in Solutions PT, and I've had a special request. A lot of people in the previous webinar met Super Tiga. And since then, he had to open a Facebook account, became a instant sensation on the internet. So a lot of fan mail. So everybody, Super Tiga is still with us. Bye. Okay. Um, so our topic this afternoon is being on site while working from home, and it's really a follow on from our previous webinar where we, of course, we're all in the same all in the same boat with us having to work from home, and a lot of people would like to get data from site to make sure that the operations are still running smoothly, you know, while they are staying at home. In this webinar, we're going to take a little bit of a deeper dive, because we know it's not just data that a lot of us need, but we actually, in some point in time, you know, we're dealing with the OT environment, and there's a lot of OT systems, and at some point in time, you need to get into those OT systems for maintenance or for whatever reason, but there would come a time that you actually need to get into the OT system. So we're going to have a look at this today, and assisting me with this today is actually a legend at Solutions PT, the one and only Tony Mannion. Good afternoon, Tony.
Hey, good afternoon, Dion. I'm glad I got introduced after Super Tiga. At least I know where I stand.
Well, Tony, I say legend. You've been with Solutions PT for how many years now?
So it's coming up to 18 years now. Wow. So 18 years of working with people to deliver solutions into the OT environment. So yeah.
So understanding OT environment is, can I say, in your blood?
By all means, yeah.
And you are the sales development manager for our cybersecurity business.
Yes, correct.
Okay, thanks. And then also joining me is somebody very interesting, Lee Carter. Saw him the other day draw a beautiful drawing. So lots of hidden talents. Lee is our cybersecurity product manager. Hi, Lee.
Hi, good afternoon, Dion.
And the first thing I must ask you is, you've got a very interesting thing on your T-shirt. Oh, can you maybe just a little...
Yeah, it's talk nerdy to
me. Beautiful. Well, we're certainly going to talk nerd to you today, because I believe that you are a certified ethical hacker. What does that mean?
Correct. That is correct. Basically, it's looking at the insights of the mind of a hacker. So it's just trying to understand the tools and techniques and approaches that one would take to compromise your systems.
Okay, so actually let a little bit of the cat out of the bag there, because of course, if you're going to connect to your OT systems on site, cybersecurity is of course a main concern. And the other thing that I've heard about you is that you are a certified penetration tester, which is also an interesting certification to have.
Yeah, thanks for that, Dan. Yeah, I did my Czech accreditation. That was probably about 15 months or so ago, which just enables you to do testing on systems that might be underneath the CREST scheme. So that might be governments, CNI, people like
that. Okay, so thank you very much for all the introductions. So I think let's just get straight to the point here. And you know, I've been an engineer on plants about 30 years now, and I know the first thing that I would have asked my technical people when this whole situation of working from home happened, I say, and I needed to get to my OT systems to do maintenance or whatever. I said, please guys, I need to have access to that VPN immediately. Tony, is that the same kind of thing that you're hearing from your customers?
Mostly, yeah. I think we're in a really strange situation at the moment where a lot of our customers are actually seeing an increase in demand. And so the assets need to continue working. We need to continue to produce product. We want the lights to stay on. We want clean water delivered to the house. So a lot of our customers are under pressure to perform really well, but we need to ensure that they're safe. And there's a number of different ways that people are looking at this. So probably the two most common that I've come across are reducing the actual shifts that are working, so less people on the plant floor, easier for social distancing. But of course, the problem is that they're then covering multiple jobs. And when you're busy, when you've got a lot of work, you've got to be very, very careful that you don't make mistakes. If people are under pressure, it's very easy to do. And the second way is probably, as you say, it's looking at methods of connecting into the OT plant floor as quickly as possible. And speed tends to be the essence there. So we are seeing the traditional IT tools of VPN, RDP, different methods to to connect into the plant floor. Sometimes, though, it seems as though speed is of the essence, and therefore shortcuts could be taken.
Yeah, I suppose the rigor, we as engineers, of course, big on procedural things, making sure things are done safely and securely all the time. So, we normally, we first meet somebody before they can come on our system. We actually normally in normal circumstances, we would have met them even before they came in. That's right?
Yeah. If I just think about when I visit a customer's site, very often I'll have to sign in at the gatehouse. Whoever's I'm there to meet will have already told the gatehouse to expect me, so I'll be logged on the system. I may have to sit through an induction. Usually somebody will come out and meet me at the gatehouse. So all the way through, somebody's able to control what it is I'm doing, what it is I want to do. If I'm there to do work, I'd have probably had to have given a statement of works beforehand. So when I talk about shortcuts, a lot of the connectivity that people are using perhaps doesn't give them that same rigor. So people can connect in, do what they want to do.
And I suppose it's, it's sometimes people in the beginning that might think it's one-dimensional, and I'm only letting in my own staff. But a lot of times to fix maybe a problem on an OT system or look after a piece of equipment, you actually need somebody from your OEM supplier or a third-party system integrator to come and help you.
Exactly. And if you don't have that ability, then actually the time it takes to perform some of these tasks, to get things back up and running, to fix problems, just takes so much longer.
Yeah, and taking shortcuts to supposedly opens you up.
It certainly does. I mean, I've had a bit of a look at what's been going on globally just to try and get an understanding, because there's a lot of rumours out there, but I wanted to try and find a little bit more evidence-based. Having a look at some of the data that's on Showdown, which gives you insights to devices that are connected out in the world, what they're seeing through the month of March was a 40% increase in RDP that's just being presented straight out to the internet. There's also an increase of about 37% for RDP as well, where people have tried to be smart and change the TCP port, so security by obscurity. But it's still reasonably easy to find those devices. Just touching back onto the VPNs that Tony mentioned, we also have seen a rise from 7 million to 10 million different VPNs, which have actually been spun up, so a 30% increase. Surprisingly, there's a lot of that which is using point-to-point tunneling protocol. So that was a VPN that's it's been depreciated for many years. So people aren't getting things done quickly, but Yeah, they're not probably going about the best way of doing it.
Right. So vulnerabilities is really a thing that you could potentially be opening your business and the critical OT systems up to.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, if I'm just share my screen just for a second, I'll just step you through like a VPN system. So, is that showing okay? Can you see that?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, what we've actually got here is somebody tries to connect on by VPN. They'll do a connection which will hit the firewall. They'll do the authentication. Once they've passed that, they're ostensibly directly connected to the SCADA network. And usually the interactions with things like an engineering workstation, etc. Now, these devices are strategically placed, generally multi-home, so they've got access to a lot of sensitive areas in the network. So if you do compromise that device, or you can get connectivity to it, then that is a risk. And let's be honest, at the moment, people are working from home, from the home networks. You've got other people who might be using it, children doing file shares, streaming, etc. It's a very difficult network to sit and secure. Using secure remote access,
So sorry, well, what you meant there, Lee, was you essentially connecting your homework network to your OT network in a sense.
Effectively, yeah. That is a reasonable concept. It's not a direct one-to-one connection, but you have a connection on both your home network and also then the OT network. So there are risks of potential cross-contamination there. Right. So secure remote access, that deals with things very, very slightly differently. So when you try and connect in, you've got the option of where somebody can authorize your connection. So it starts looking similar to how it would be on site, being escorted coming in before you would actually be able to get working around on the plant. So the SRA administrator can look at the request, he can accept or deny it. And at that point, then you're given access to connect on and to access a network. So how does this look from a client's journey point of view? So as long as you've got a web browser, such as Chrome, anything that's HTML5, pop your username and password into there. You'd be presented then with an optional two-factor authentication. Provide your credentials, click log on, and then you're on to the SRA system. So we've got John here, who's a support engineer. Now, he can connect straight onto two of the devices automatically, but one of them he's actually got a request access for. So when he does require to request access, clicks on the tab, he's got to provide a time of how long he's going to be on there for, and also when he actually wants that work to start. And there's an option as well that you can put in a reason for it. So this can be tied into things like your help desk ticketing systems that you might have on site. So it follows part of your change control procedure.
So
Lee?
Yeah, yes, Tony, go ahead.
Sorry, Lee, I was just going to say on that previous slide there, John is actually being shown access to a particular asset on the OT network. So they're the only assets that he can connect to. He can't actually connect to the OT network as a whole.
No, absolutely. So what's actually happens here, Tony, is you get a connection which has a protocol break and a graphical representation. So you can see and feel and look at everything, but you're not directly connected onto the network. There's a third-party intermediate which is in between, and like you said there might be 100 assets which are being protected by the system here, but he's only been given access to view 3. On one of those, he can't access without authority.
So the question I wanted to ask Lee was around the people that you trust. So there's a distinction between the levels of trust that you have. So if you've got an ad hoc third party you can put a lot more rigor into the process, where if you've got where you're a trusted employee, you have less, what would I say, no need for the administrator allowing you in.
Yeah, absolutely. So when the user actually comes on to connect, what you can do is there's a concept of what's called password vaulting. So you're not actually exposing the passwords of access to that system to the third party. So you can create an account for him. You don't share those credentials, so we can't use them any wider. But for the purposes of him being able to connect in, he can connect in once he's put his known, just to him, username and password, which might be located solely on the Secure Remote Access appliance, or it might be something that's connected to Active Directory.
Right.
So the administrator's journey. So what we've actually got here is the administrator can have a look at sessions that might possibly be pending, active sessions that are currently in place, and also application tunnels. And just at the bottom here are the assets which are available for you to protect and present out. So John's put through his request. That will be an email that will land with the system administrator. He clicks a link and then he's got the option to review who's logging in, what server that they're logging into, why he wants to log in, the duration, and he can approve or deny that process. So assuming that he approves it, back to the user journey, he gets a view that that's now been approved, and he can cancel that request if he needs to. Perhaps circumstances have changed, or he can connect on and do the work as intended. So John's logged on now. He's using RDP. So what he can see here is exactly the same as what he would have if he was connected on by an RDP session. And one of the beauties are that you can still copy and paste text to the clipboard, but you can't then transpose things like executables, etc., through that means. So how does this look for the administrator? So the administrator can view the active sessions which are actually in play. So if he actually opens that session, he can view exactly what John's doing there in real time. Now, assuming he's happy with things, then that's all well and good. That session will sit and be recorded. You can retain it for as long as you wish to. But if he sees something untoward, he's got the option there to disconnect John. So he's terminated and kicked out. Or if there's a wider issue, then you can sit and disconnect all sessions. So effectively putting your remote access solution into a lockdown phase.
Lee, sorry, just another question from me at that point. When you say you can record the session, does that mean you can record that the session happened, or you can actually record what was done during the session?
It actually does a video recording of the complete session. So anything which is undertaken during that time, so applications that are launched, icons that are pressed, data that's input, all of that will actually be captured and recorded to an event log. And of course, you can actually tie that into continuous threat detection as well. So you can look at the network side, but you can also look at the end user side. What are they doing on the system, and how do those two things tie together? So
it's full audit of what's being done on the system.
Effectively, yes, Tess.
Yeah. Okay.
One of the other challenges that we see is getting files in and out of the OT system as well, especially where you might have big large event logs that need to be transposed out to third parties. You've got OEMs or manufacturers who need to deliver firmware updates. So there is a concept of file management where you can actually import and export files that you've got permissions to do, and it's all through a proper process where files are, checked for validity, viruses, etc., and you can set permissions on who can access them and who can't. For the technical people who might be on the call, I just want to spend just a minute or so just having a very, very quick look at the architecture. So there's two major components inside of SRA. So we've got the central components, so that would possibly be sitting in your enterprise zone or OTDMZ. And then there's a site component which will sit a little further down in the OT layer at layer 3 in the Purdue model. Now, the connection which comes out is originated from the SRA site component. So from a firewall perspective, there's no connections going into the OT zone. So the site will create a reverse tunnel to the SRA component. SRA will actually terminate the connection that comes in from the web browser. And the presentation is actually a graphical representation which is done from the central component. So you've got a protocol break and a re-establishment of the connection, which is interacting with the assets which are in the OT zone. By default, that looks and will connect onto RDP sessions, SSH, anything that's got a web device, and there's also VNC as well. So if you've got legacy devices that might be KVMs and things of the like, or systems running VNC, you can connect directly onto them there as well.
Does that mean, sorry Lee, it means that so if you've got a third party come in, it means you don't have to give them the tools that you use to connect to the OT system. They will be completely segregated from that.
Absolutely. As long as they've got a HTML5 web browser, such as Chrome or something like Microsoft Edge, you can connect on directly, and that is probably all the tools that you will need for 99% of what you need to do. The engineering workstation that you might connect onto is likely to have the rest of the tools that you'll need. So for programming the devices and the specialist OT applications that we're all familiar with.
Right.
So as a whole, secure remote access is a policy and a work-based control. So it gives the same kind of rigor in the virtual world as you would have in the physical world, i.e. people can't just turn up and do work. They've got to be pre-authorized. They can be recorded and watched, very similar to what you'd have with CCTV on site, and access control through user accounts and two-factor authentication. All the traffic that goes from that goes between Clarity on the OT network and over public networks is all fully encrypted. We've got two-factor authentication and password vaulting, so that you can hide those sensitive credentials that you don't want third parties to have, because you don't really want to go ahead and change those passwords each time that people have used them. And you've also got the ability to have over-the-shoulder surfing, so you can see what people are doing actually in real time, and if you need to terminate that connection, then you can do so.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, Lee. By the way, if anybody has any questions, there is at the bottom of your screen a Q&A section or button there that you just can press and enter any of your questions that you may have, and we'll answer them in a minute or two. I think that was a very, very good overview. So thank you, Lee, for that.
You're welcome.
So, yeah, so you earned that T-shirt you've got.
Thank you.
Definitely. Beforehand as well, I asked Lee, can I call him our cybersecurity guru? And the more and more I listen to him, the more and more I call him our cybersecurity. Certainly knows what he is talking about. So Tony, it's kind of obvious that this kind of thing needs to be in place. What do you think is the barriers that you see that customers have in actually doing this?
Well, I think the first thing to say, Dion, is cybersecurity unfortunately isn't a one-size-fits-all and a silver bullet. So whereas this is going to be a solution that's going to benefit a lot of people. You know, we're happy to talk about people about what they're currently doing and how we can enhance that. There's a number of different strands that we can help people with. But I think the two main reasons that I come across, the first one is a reason that we hear in certainly in the OT world on a regular basis, is budget. So people might have budget in place. I think the interesting thing about the secure remote access, this isn't a product that's just been developed for the current situation. This has been around for a long time. And over the last few years, we've had companies who've deployed this solution into their OT environment. And the feedback that we get from them is that the money that they can save from visits to site, we know that there's an expense involved in visiting site, or even the efficiencies from time to fix or time to change, the efficiencies that can be gained, people are saying the return on investment is fabulous for these sorts of products. So I think budget is one, but we can certainly talk to customers, help them out, understand their difficulties. We understand it's difficult at the moment to perhaps make business decisions or to generate business cases, and we can help them to do that, perhaps with a proof of concept or looking at different ways that we can help them at the moment. And the second is probably there's a misconception that this sort of a solution would take a long time and take a lot of management overhead. Where we have deployed these solutions, we've actually had them up and running within a day. And most of that time is spent on perhaps OT network configurations that we need to make sure are right. So our knowledge about not only our in-depth knowledge of the products, but also our in-depth knowledge of OT networks means that we can have these solutions up and running and adding value to the customers very, very quickly. The other element is that in doing that, we also make sure that our customers understand how to set up different assets for people to connect to, how to protect those, how to make sure the right protection's in place, and also how to set up users so that they can actually start to add new servers, add new users as and when the time requires. So they can start benefiting from these products straight away, but they'll see more benefit as time goes on. So we know that it won't be right for everybody, but certainly we think there's a compelling reason for people to take a serious look.
Great, thanks a lot, Tony. Yeah, so I think this has really been an interesting afternoon, and I suppose that people can contact you directly, Tony, if they want to talk to us.
Yeah, if people want to know more or want to know more about what we're doing in cybersecurity, they can come directly through to me. We are going to be sending out an email at the end of the webinar, so there'll be contact details on there, or they can go to our website and put a request on, and I'm happy to call them back and talk about what we're doing to help customers at the moment and in the long term from a cybersecurity perspective.
Great, thank you very much. And thank you very much, Lee, for your input and great learning that we had this afternoon.
Thank you.
And to you as well, Tony.
Thanks, Dion.
And to all of you that have taken this last half hour out of your busy afternoon schedule, thank you very much for joining us. And we will be back.
We do have a question.
We do have a question. I'm so sorry. Question. Just for clarification, you wouldn't be able to install IDEs into the site unit. It would need to connect to an unit on site. I'm not sure what that means.
I'm not quite sure that. I'm wondering whether this is actually referencing back to being able to program a physical device directly. There is actually the ability to actually do that. What I didn't show. Let me just bring the screen up again very, very quickly. Oops. No, I'm struggling with technology here.
Do I understand the question right as it is, can you do software installs?
I'm not sure. Could the anonymous person just give a bit more information, or just rephrase what they're looking to achieve?
But just generically on that question, Lee, would it allow somebody says they need to install an additional component? You were running, say, a Wonderware software, which I'm assuming the IDE is referring to, and you may need to install that integrated development environment onto a machine. Would the remote access user be able to do that installation?
They can, if you're connected onto the device, which is an IDE, you'll be able to do everything as if you are directly connected to it through remote desktop. If you needed to actually touch physical assets, i.e. to say program, and I'll just use, for example, the Rockwell PLC that you needed to access via there. There is a concept of application tunnels, which I didn't cover here because we'd only got 30 minutes to cover everything. SRA is quite an in-depth application. So what you can do is you'll be able to do the programming directly on that device if you were required to.
We got clarification on the question. For example, would the site be able to install software onto the site box, or would you need to install Wonderware Window Maker, which onto a separate PC? And my assumption is from your answer is that depending on the level of access that is given to the remote user, they can actually install software on the remote machines.
They can do. I think my take on the question, and again, apologies to whoever's asking the question if this is incorrect. If you wanted to make changes to the IDE on site and you needed Window Maker to be able to do that, and that Window Maker was installed on your local machine rather than on the OT network, then you could use the application tunnels to be able to connect directly to the asset and utilize the Window Maker that's on your personal machine.
Okay.
So I think that goes back to the application maker, the application tunnel answer that Lee gave earlier on.
Okay. All right. I understand that better now as well. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. I was about to say bye. So thanks once again to both of my panelists, Lee and Tony, and thanks for joining us this afternoon, and see you next week. We're going to have even more interesting stuff. So see you next week. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. Thanks a lot.